Welcome back. In this video I'm going to show you how to do single crochet, and I'm going to show you how to do single crochet in rows. So if you want to make something flat like a little blanket or something like that. Also in the round, this is good if you just want to make a flat disc, or you also crochet in the round if you want to create three-dimensional forms. And finally, foundation crochet, so that you don't have to actually create a chain. And this works well for a variety of different applications. So single crochet is one of the kind of basic stitches. And first I'm going to show you how to single crochet in rows, starting with a chain. So the first thing you want to do is create your chain. So I'm going to take the yarn, wrap it around my finger, cross it, and then pull this tail through, but I'm going to keep the end of the tail from going through the knot. So that's a slip knot. I pulled this tail to tighten it on the hook. Okay? And then I'm going to make a chain by putting the yarn over the front of the hook and then pulling it through that loop that was on the hook. Okay? And however long you want your chain to be, you just continue with that technique. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chain stitches. Now to do a single crochet on this short little chain, hold your tail kind of back, and we don't want to go into the chain stitch that is directly next to the hook. Okay, you see this loop comes out of this stitch. If we do that, we end up unraveling, and it's just not a good idea. Okay, so we're going to go into this little stitch where these two yarns cross, insert the hook through that, put the yarn in front and catch it with the hook, and then pull through. So now you have 2 loops on your hook. Put the yarn over again and pull that through both loops on your hook. Okay, so now you have 1 loop on your hook again. And now you go into this second little opening, and we know that we've already crocheted into this chain stitch because we can see the yarn going into that. So now we need to insert the hook into the next chain, yarn over, and pull through. So now we have 2 loops on the hook, yarn over again, and then hook that yarn with your crochet hook and then pull it through both loops. And if you have trouble pulling them through both loops at once, it's fine to pull it through 1 loop at a time, and I'll show you how to do that with this next stitch. Okay, yarn over, pull through 1 loop, and then pull through the other. Okay, now this is our last stitch in our very short chain. Okay, so now we have this very short little chain with a row of single crochet across. Now if we want to continue this, we put the yarn over and make 1 little chain stitch, okay? And now we turn our work and we begin crocheting on the opposite side, okay? So we can continue this in several different ways. We can go through just 1 of these loops. We can go through both of these loops, okay? We're going to go through both, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, whoops, and pull through both. Now I'm going to go ahead and take this first stitch out, put my hook back in. You can always do that with crochet, and it doesn't unravel your, all of your work. I just want to point out that we want to go into this first stitch. You don't want to skip and go into this stitch, otherwise you will create kind of a misshapen work. Okay, so you always want to go into the stitch that is right next to the hook. Okay, and going through both loops. If you look at the very top, it looks almost like a braid, and I'm going through both parts of that braid. Yarn over and just continue that way all the way across. And don't forget this last stitch. It is always kind of a little bit different than the other stitches, but you can still tell that it is a stitch because it still has that braid look at the top. Okay, and then chain one at the end of that row and turn again. So that is what the next row looks like from the other side. Now what we want to do is go through this first stitch, and you can kind of turn your work to the top to see, and you just continue going back and forth until your work is as tall as you want it to be. To pull out your stitches, and this is called frogging because you're ripping it out, and that kind of sounds like the sound that a frog makes, rip it. You can pull it out as far as you need to and go back and fix any mistakes in the previous rows. You just want to leave this one little loop on top of the stitch, and then you insert your hook back into that stitch and continue the pattern as needed. Okay, now I'm going to show you single crochet in the round, and that is the approach that you'll be using to make sculptural works generally. Okay, so first you make your slip knot, and then you there are actually a couple of different ways of doing this beginning. I'm going to show you what I feel is the simplest way because it's the most similar to crocheting in rows. As you get more experience, you can try like a magic loop or different approaches like that. Okay, so I have the slip knot on my hook, yarn over, make 2 chains. Okay, so I have the chain that's right next to the hook, and then I have the slip knot at the very beginning, and then I have the second chain. So what I'm going to do now is turn this and go through this loop right here. Okay, and I'm just going to do single crochet. So yarn over, pull the loop through, and now I have 2 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through both. And you can see that it's kind of spread out a little bit, which is just fine. Insert your hook into the very same space, yarn over, pull through, 2 loops on hook, yarn over again, and pull through both loops. Most of the time you will be crocheting between 5 and even up to like 6 or 7 stitches into this first loop. Okay. and if the this opening gets too big, you can just pull this short tail and that will cinch it back down. Okay, now if you lose track of how many stitches you've made into this first loop, and I'm going to go ahead and pull this down a little bit more. You just turn your work so that you see the top, and you look at this little braided pattern. Okay, so we have 1 stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do, well, I'll go ahead and call that good for this. Okay, now if you're crocheting in the round, again, there are a couple of ways of continuing this pattern. For our purposes, we're going to be not joining and then chaining one, which is usually what you do when you want to like make a doily or you know, a pattern like that. But I'll show you how to do that really quickly, and then I'll pull it out. In order to do that, you find the first stitch, which is this one that has a little vertical loop across the back of it. Okay, that's your first stitch, and we're going to go through both of the loops that make up the braid, like so, and you make a slip stitch. And if you remember from the slip stitch video, you put the yarn over, you pull through. Now you have 2 loops on your hook, and if we were going to do single crochet, we would go yarn over and then pull through both loops. But for a slip stitch, we're going to just continue pulling that same stitch through, or that same loop through. Okay, so that it has joined that round. And now we'll chain 1. Okay, and that counts as the first single crochet. And then we just continue crocheting in the tops of these stitches all the way around. Okay, that is joining and chaining 1. We're not going to do that approach, however. In most sculptural crocheted works, it is crocheted in what's called a spiral. Okay, which means that we just find that first loop, insert our hook into the top 2 loops, yarn over, pull through, and then we just do a single crochet in that loop. Okay, in order to expand our single crochet in the round, we're going to do increases in each stitch. Okay, and an increase is just crocheting 2 of the same stitches in the single stitch. Okay, and you can tell where you've just crocheted because you can see this little V goes into one of these little braided stitches. Okay, so we're going to just do another single crochet into that very same stitch. Okay, and then we will do 2 more. Single crochets in the next stitch. So the first round after your single crochets into that little chain stitch, you do increases in every single one of the stitches. Oops, I need to double check that I did 2 there. And yes, you can see there's one little V here and one little V there, and they're both in the same stitch, so I've done 2 there. If you're busy watching TV or talking, it's easy to lose track of whether you've done, you know, 1 stitch or 2, but you can tell by kind of pulling the fabric apart and seeing if there's one little V or if there are two little V's in the same stitch. Okay? And so you continue that until you reach the end of that round. And you can tell where the round ends because we have another set of stitches out here. So I need to crochet in this one, do an increase in this stitch here, and an increase in this stitch right here. Okay, so that's how you can tell from the front. Okay, you have your two here, 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 and here, and here, and then in the middle you have your little first round. From the back you can tell by where the tail comes out. That stitch is the ending stitch. Now, if we want to continue expanding this out flat, we will continue to add the number of increases of the stitches in the middle. So we started out with 5 single crochet stitches in the middle. So instead of increasing in every single one of these stitches, like we did in the first round after this initial single crochet round, we're going to be doing increases in every other one because we have 10 stitches now and we can count them: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Actually, I guess I did 2 extra stitches there. Okay, so we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, so now if we want to expand it out, we will alternate a single crochet in one, and then an increase in the next stitch. So then we would do 2 in the next stitch. And that would be increasing this next row by 5. That will make it expand out flat. But what if we want to make more of a form that kind of curves down a little bit? Depending on how large this form is, we could actually go out 1 or 2 more rows, adding the original number of stitches. So in this row, do an increase, then do a single crochet in the next stitch, an increase, single crochet, and then on the row following that, we would do an increase, or 2 single crochet into a single stitch, and then we would do 2 individual single crochets, and then we would do another increase. Okay, so with each round that you increase to make it go out flat, you would increase the number of single crochet stitches in between your increases by 1. So in this row, we'll have 1 single crochet in between each, and then in the next row, we'll have 2 single crochets in between each increase. But if we want to make our crochet create more of a sphere, like say one this size, then instead of adding the original number of stitches, we're going to add increases of about, since we have 5 original stitches, we could do like 3 increases or 4. 4 increases would make it expand out horizontally a little bit more than sloping, and 3 would make a little bit more of a slope like this one. So I'm going to, I have 15 stitches, or no, I have 10 stitches, sorry, and I'm going to put 4 increases. I have 1 increase here, so I'll do a couple. They won't be perfectly evenly spaced, and that's okay. Now we'll do an increase. And now we'll do a couple of regular single crochet, and we'll do another increase. So this is more of the round that I would be doing in the next round if I wanted this to come out flat. You can see that it's already kind of curving up a little bit, and that's what we want. And now we'll just start crocheting in each stitch a single crochet.